Hello everybody, this is Judge Kayla Smith and today I'll be judging the Open English Halter. How I'm going to be doing this is I'm just going to show each exhibitor on the side profile. I'm not going to show each view or the tracking just for time's sake, but if I saw something worth sharing, then I will share it. You guys will also have to forgive me if I mispronounce your names. I'm sorry, I don't mean to, so I apologize in advance. And how I'm going to do this is I'm just going to go through each exhibitor, talk about the horse, what I see, and at the end of the class, I will announce my placings. So for our first exhibitor, we have Courtney Wiedenman with Done Passing Time. And this horse here, he has really good structure. He's straight on all column of bones. He goes straight down from his hip to hock to heel and is really straight down his front knee as well. He comes in, he tracks up good and stands there and locks his knees out really nicely. Our second exhibitor is Kathy McGaffey with I'm One Awesome Fella. Levelness over the top is very important to me, and that's just the first thing that I notice about this horse, that he's slightly unlevel. But I do also have to recognize that he is really good in his thirds. He has a nice shoulder. He does get a little bit long in his back, but he's pretty proportionate throughout, and he ties in pretty good. He is a little bit toed out from behind, but he does have really nice sections when talking about his shoulder, back, and hip. The next exhibitor is Melissa Bell with ZZ Talkin' Radical. This is a really nicely balanced horse. He's really laid back in his shoulder. He's really proportionate when you divide him up into thirds, and he has really good structure. He's straight throughout. He may get a little bit steep in his front pasterns, but it's nothing too concerning as he can still lock his knees out. And I wish he'd just be a little bit more cleaner about his head and neck, but this is a really nicely balanced horse. Our next exhibitor is Lillian Bullard with Kiss Me With Care. This horse does have a nice shoulder. It is pretty laid back, but he does get a little bit long in his back, and I think that's because he's a little bit steeper in his croup. But this horse also has pretty good structure. He does get a little bit steep in his pasterns, but he does track in okay. Our next exhibitor is Izzy Hostletter with Zipped Up I'm Fancy. This is another really nice eye-appealing horse. He's really nice about his quality and his head and neck. I wish he'd tie in maybe just a little bit higher to clean that up, but that's getting pretty nitpicky. He also does get a little bit long in his back, but he does have a pretty nice shoulder and has an even muscle pattern throughout. Our next exhibitor is Christy Fahey with Spottin' Artifacts. This horse comes in and he tracks up really straight, and he has really nice structure. He's straight from hip to hock to heel and locks his knees out really nicely. I wasn't able to get a good view on the quality of this horse, but the throat latch looks pretty clean for the most part. But I do wish he would tie in just slightly higher and a little bit cleaner. Our next exhibitor is Brielle Betts with the Machinist. And this horse, he has a nice shoulder, but I think he gets a little bit long in his back, and I think that's due to the steepness of his hip. And I wish I would see just a little bit more even muscling throughout. He looks heavier muscled on his front end than he does on his hind end, but he also has pretty good structure as he's straight on all four column of bones. Our next exhibitor is Nicole Zazzala with Huntin' a Hot One. This is also a really nice horse. He's really nicely balanced. He's proportionate when you're thinking about his shoulder to his back to his hip, and he has a really even muscle pattern. I just wish that this horse would be a little bit more refined about his head. He does tie in really nicely with his neck, but he gets a little bit coarse about his head. Our next exhibitor is Laura Linder with Gata Bueno Deal. And this is also another really nicely balanced horse. He's really laid back in his shoulder. He may get a little bit long in his back um, over his top line in comparison to his underline, but he does have a nice shoulder. And this is another horse that I wish we could just refine his head a little bit more, because he also does tie in very high and really nicely there, but he just gets also a little bit coarse in his head. And our last exhibitor is Kayla Higgins with a Sudden Good Bar. And I had talked previously about how levelness over the top line is super important to me. And this horse just seems to run a little bit downhill when you're looking from his wither to his croup. But he does have pretty nice thirds for the most part. He also may get a little bit longer in his back, because I think he gets a little bit steeper in his shoulder. But he also does have a really nice muscle pattern throughout, and is really refined about his head and neck. So for my placings for this class, in first place, I have Melissa Bell with ZZ Talkin' Radical. In second place, I have Izzy Hostletter with Zipped Up Fancy. In third place, I have Nicole Zazzala with Huntin' a Hot One. Fourth place is Laura Linder with Gata Bueno Deal. Fifth place is Kathy McGaffey with I'm One Awesome Fella. Sixth place is Michaela Higgins with A Sudden Good Bar. Seventh place is Brielle Betts with The Machinist. Eighth place is Christy Fahey with Spot and Artifacts. Ninth place is Lillian Bullard with Kiss Me With Care. And 10th place is Courtney Wiedemann with Done Passing Time. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you guys so much for your entries and giving me the opportunity to judge you guys. It really is an honor, and we just appreciate you guys so much. So congratulations and thanks again.